Hi, this is Nanette Hosenfeld with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Wednesday, July 3rd, 2018. Looking at fire potential impacts over the next few days, today we will see some gusty winds across the southern part of the Great Basin. We're looking at wind gusts in the 25 to 35 mile an hour range. We will also see some isolated to scattered thunderstorms across the area highlighted in green. Most of these storms will be accompanied by low-end wetting rain, and there will be some gusty and erratic winds in the vicinity of these storms. On Thursday, we will also see some gusty winds across the southern Great Basin, but winds will not be quite as significant as those that we're expecting today. Wind speeds will drop by about 5 or 10 miles an hour tomorrow afternoon. And as far as precipitation tomorrow afternoon, we're looking at, again, the potential for some isolated to scattered thunderstorms across portions of the northern part of the Great Basin. Then moving into Friday, things look pretty quiet. Over the past 24 hours, there's really not too much in the way of precipitation across the Great Basin, a couple light showers, and you can see there was some lightning associated with these storms. Looking at fire activity, things are continuing to ramp up a bit across the Great Basin. Looking at precipitation over the past 30 days, you can see that things have been pretty dry across the Great Basin. The image on the right shows how the observed precipitation compares to normal, and you can see that western and southern parts of the Great Basin have been quite dry, but overall the Great Basin has seen below normal precipitation over the past 30 days. ERCs are on the rise in general across the Great Basin. You can see the highest ERC percentiles are across the northern and western parts of the Great Basin that have been the driest. I thought it'd be interesting to throw on the ERC map from a year ago, so this is from the beginning of July 2018, and just kind of compare where we are now to where we were last year. So definitely a very different spring and summer this year than what we saw last year. Last year we had quite a few areas that were had very high ERCs. Continuing to look at those ERCs, we are still generally below normal across the area. We're getting a little closer to normal levels with the drier, hotter weather that we've seen. Continuing to look at fuel moisture, all three samples here are showing sagebrush moisture, and sagebrush moisture is at or above normal across almost the entire area. Our 10-hour fuels are drying out and are approaching normal levels, with the driest 10-hour fuels across the southern part of the area where it's been the hottest. Satellite this morning shows a low-pressure system over the Pacific Northwest, and that will bring us our gusty winds and unsettled weather for the next couple of days. So looking at today in a little more detail, you can see that low-pressure system reflected on the map on the left, and on our significant fire potential map on the right, you can see the high risk that we've issued for wind gusts across the south. Looking at today's weather in detail, we're trying something new with our wind gust image on the left, so you'll have to let us know what you think. But we are looking at some gusty winds across the southern, southwestern part of the Great Basin. Those are the areas that we highlighted on our impact map. Generally winds in the 25 to 35 mile an hour range this afternoon. Looking at relative humidity, you can see we'll see critically dry relative humidities across the southern half of the Great Basin. As we move into Thursday, that weather system moves a little bit to the east, and you can see in our significant fire potential map quite a few areas of yellow and brown on the map. Yesterday we had issued a high risk for wind for Thursday across the south, but conditions aren't looking like they'll be as critical as we'd expected, so we took that high risk out for Thursday. Looking at Thursday in more detail, again, you can see some gusty winds across the southern part of the Great Basin. Winds generally in the 20 to 30 mile an hour range as far as gusts, and relative humidities will be critically dry across the area. Moving into Friday, that low pressure system has moved out of the area, and we're looking at a brief period of high pressure ridging across the Great Basin. So we'll see quieter weather on Friday across the area. You can see that wind gust map on the left. Pretty light wind gusts expected across the Great Basin, and still pretty dry conditions across the entire area on Friday. Over the next 3 days, we could see some precipitation across the northern part of the Great Basin. We are expecting, again, those isolated, scattered thunderstorms across the northern part of the area today and tomorrow. As we move into Saturday, we start to see another storm system developing off the Pacific Northwest, and we could start to see some winds increasing across the southern part of the Great Basin ahead of that system on Saturday. Moving into Sunday, we see some increasing moisture across the northern Great Basin associated with that weather disturbance. As we move into Monday, again, we keep that moisture in place across the northern part of the area. And finally on Tuesday, it does look like another break in the weather with some brief ridging. So in the next 7 days, as you can see, the majority of the precipitation will fall across the northern part of the Great Basin. Finally, in the 8 to 14 day period, the Climate Prediction Center is calling for above normal temperatures across the entire Great Basin. And as far as precipitation, you can see that large area of below normal precipitation across the southern part of the Great Basin. And this is really pointing to the fact that the monsoon is not setting up like it typically does. Usually, by the second and third week of July, we would be seeing monsoonal moisture at least making its way into the southern part of the Great Basin. But we're just seeing a very unusual weather pattern this year that is preventing that typical monsoonal pattern from setting up. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our information is on the screen, and you can also find us on Twitter. Thank you.